Hello everybody, welcome to today's deck profile. Today we are doing the Dual Avatars. This is a deck that came out in Phantom Rage, a very slept on deck. It can do a lot of very interesting, funny plays, including one involving a very old card that you all might know pretty well if you're following this channel. So I enjoy it. It's very interesting in the way that it does get into its big boss fusions. So without further ado, let's hop right into it. First up, we'll play 3 copies of Dual Avatar Fists Yuhi. You can target a Dual Avatar monster you control, destroy it. If you do, add a Dual Avatar spell from your deck to your hand. If a Dual Avatar fusion monster you control that was fusion summoned using an effect monster as material is destroyed by battle or an opponent's card effect while this card is in your grave, add this card to your hand. So this is your main searcher in the deck. He gets you to the most important card in your deck, which is Dual Avatar Invitation. So very, very good starter. You definitely want a way to find him. We then play 3 copies of Dual Avatar Feat Koku. When it's normally special summoned, you can add a Dual Avatar Trap from your deck to your hand during your opponent's turn. If a face-up Dual Avatar monster you control is destroy a battle or card effect, you can special summon this card from your hand and apply this effect. Destroy a Dual Avatar monster you control, especially a Dual Avatar fusion monster from your extra deck. So not only does he search one of your traps, which this deck does have 3 pretty decent traps, but he also has some great recursion. Moving on to some more generic monsters, I do play 3 Rookie Warrior Lady. The fusion monsters are kind of small, with the biggest one only being around 3k. So you use cards like Rookie Warrior Lady to kind of reduce that a fair bit. Same reason we do Honest. Play 3 Honest, just so that way we can actually swing over cards. And finally, I do play 1 copy of Pank, just to remove problem cards from the field or bait negates. Moving on to their fusion spell, Dual Avatar Invitation. Dual Avatar Invitation is their primary way to actually get their fusion monsters on the field. You can discard a card, special summon as many Dual Avatar Spirit tokens as possible. They're all these are what the tokens look like. They are all Warrior Light level 2 with 0 attack and defense. For the rest of the turn, you cannot special summon from the extra deck except fusion monsters, and all tokens cannot be attributed or destroyed during the end phase. After summoning these tokens, you can apply this effect up to twice, which allows you to fusion summon. So, this allows you to get into any of your fusions, depending on what you actually have on your field and in your hand. Next, we play 3 copies of Perfect Sync Aum. I apologize if I mispronounce any of these names. I'm a Spanish student, so any language that's not Spanish I have issue with. So when this card's activated, you can add a Dual Avatar monster from your deck to your hand. If you control a Dual Avatar effect monster, you can special summon 1 Dual Avatar Spirit token. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except fusion monsters. So on activation, this immediately allows you to search Yuhi, and that's a combo I'm going to show you all later in the video. Next, we play 3 copies of Dual Avatar Defeating Evil. Target a Dual Avatar monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls, destroy them both. Then if you destroy a Dual Avatar Fusion monster, you can apply this effect. You can either draw a card or banish a card from your opponent's graveyard. It's not bad, it's decent removal, especially if you have a leftover token, or if you have a fusion monster that's not really doing anything for you anymore, you can out it to get some good pluses. I then play 3 copies of Fusion Deployment, because the 2 big guys here list feet and fists, so you can easily just grab them from deck. One of the cards that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I do play 3 copies of Law of the Normal. This is a fun card. If you don't know what Law of the Normal does, you can only activate this while there are 5 level 2 or lower normal monsters on the field. Both player discards all cards in their hand and destroys all cards in the field except for level 2 or lower normal monsters. So, you play for this one is to activate your fusion spell, summoning all the tokens, and then you don't fuse, you just activate Law of the Normal. It's a dangerous play, because you just kind of have to hope that your opponent's not really doing anything with either their hand or their graveyard. But if you get it off and your opponent can't really do anything, it's fantastic. It does make the game state become significantly more reliant on the top deck. But it's a very funny tech to have in this deck. Next up, I play 2 Foolish Burial Goods. If you do go the Law of the Normal route, playing your Dual Avatar Ascendance, getting that in the graveyard is significantly better, as it allows you to grab stuff from the graveyard, which we'll get into that in a second. We play 1 Rhoda, because, you know, they're mostly warriors, 1 Terraform to get to the field spell, and 1 Harpies to get rid of the back row, because there's no real way to interact with that in this deck. Moving on to the traps, we play 3 copies of Dual Avatar Return. It targets a Dual Avatar monster in your grave, special summons it. Then if its level is 4 or lower, special a Dual Avatar Spirit token, and then it's a hard one, so this gives you either one of your fusions back, or you can summon Yuhi plus a token, which then lets you combo from there. 3 copies of Dual Avatar Ascendance. This is an interesting one. You can target a Dual Avatar you control, destroy it. If you do, special a Dual Avatar monster from your deck or extra deck whose original level is 1 higher or lower than that monster had on the field. So, if you have the red one, you can trade up or down. So it's a really great way to cycle through your extra deck. While it's in the graveyard, except for the turn it was sent to the grave, during your main phase, you can banish this card, target a Dual Avatar monster in your grave, add it to your hand. So it gives you a recycling ability, especially if you've just activated Law of the Normal. Finally, Dual Avatar Compact, played at 3. During the main phase, banish a Dual Avatar spell trap from your grave. This card's effect becomes that spell trap's effect. So it can copy anything from your Defeating Evil to your Invitation. So it's a really great way to kind of continue on your plays during your opponent's turn, allowing you to even fusion summon during your opponent's turn. Speaking of fusion summoning, let's move on to the extra deck. Play 3 copies of Dual Avatar Feet Armored Ungyo. If a Dual Avatar fusion monster is destroyed by card effect, destroy a Dual Avatar monster you control instead. During the main phase, if you control a Dual Avatar fusion monster that was fusion summoned using an effect monster as material, quick effect, target a face-up monster, special summon from the extra deck, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. So that is a singular monster negate if you have a fusion summoned from the with an effect monster on the field. So that is why it's very important you're able to get to your Yuhi and your Kyoku, so you can actually get good effects from him. Then 3 copies of Dual Avatar Fists Armored Agyo. If it's special summon, target an attack position monster your opponent controls, destroy it. However, this card cannot attack for the rest of the turn. While you control a Dual Avatar fusion monster that is fusion summoned using an effect monster, all Dual Avatar fusion monsters gain 300 attack and defense. So, if you use the Dual Avatar Compact to fusion summon on your opponent's turn, Agyo really gives you some good interaction with your opponents that you can kind of stop their plays. We then play 3 copies of Dual Avatar Empowered Mitsujaku. It takes Dual Avatar Feet Koku and 2 other Dual Avatar monsters. First time a Dual Avatar fusion was destroyed by battle, it is not. Once per turn during your main phase, you can return all spell traps your opponent controls to the hand. When your fusion monster win a monster that is activated on your opponent's side of the field while you control 2 or more fusion monster, you can destroy that monster. So if they activate an effect, you can pop it, which is, once again, decent monster removal, but not perfect. And finally, 3 copies of Empowered Kongyo. If this card battles, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects until the end of the damage step. If this card attacks, after damage calculation, return 1 monster your opponent controls to the hand. When your opponent's spell, trap, or card or effect is activated, you can negate the activation. So it is a single spell trap negate. Not bad. This is definitely your boss monster of the deck, the one you want to get to as soon as possible. They are getting a new fusion monster. I have not read it yet, but it looks like it's pretty good. So let me show you all a quick combo you can do with this deck. So, here's what you can do if you open the field spell, plus any 1 card to discard. Start by playing the field spell. This adds Yuhi. You normal summon Yuhi. Using the field spell, you summon the token. Yuhi effect will destroy the token, which will then add your Dual Avatar Invitation. You can activate it, discarding whatever card you have. This will summon 4 copies of the Dual Avatar tokens. You're going to fuse 2 of them away with Yuhi to summon Kongyo. Usually you want to do it in the ENC just to give you more room. Then you'll fuse the last 2 tokens away to make Armored Ongyo. This gives you a monster and a spell trap negate. And that's really all you got. It's not much, but it's pretty decent interruption considering it only took 2 cards to actually get to that, so you still have 3 in hand. Let's say they de-barrier you, you can't summon your fusion monster. You could have just allowed the normal, you can kind of go from there. This is one of those decks that's very much play by ear and see how the opponent's reacting to your plays. It's definitely a really fun deck. I highly recommend it. It is very budget friendly the last time I checked. I think the most expensive card is going to be the Dual Avatar Invitation. And of course, if you decide to get the actual spirit tokens. So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure to leave a comment. Let me know what you'd like to see in the next video. Without further ado, I will see you in the next one.